beginning part that I get a little nervous on. But welcome to the first episode of the Freddy and Chris show, where we're going to just be having some fun. We originally shot this about a week ago, where the audio cut out on the last half, and we went into last week thinking that this was going to be a self-help podcast. After last week's episode, we're now going to just do a regular podcast because we were just talking about bullshit and having fun, and that's what this podcast is going to be. Will there be points where we'll be talking about self-help? Absolutely, because we've gone through a lot of things. He's a very successful businessman. I'm very successful in my weight loss and soon to be businessman. And we're first going to start off by introducing myself. I'll let Chris go first.
All right, I'm Chris Juge. I am 40 years old. I am the proud father of three beautiful young children. I got two girls and a boy. They are Audrey, Catherine, and Wally, in that order. I have a beautiful wife, Jenny. I am a student of all things business. One of my favorite topics to speak about or read about is what makes a champion a champion. And that has led me to just, do a lot of studying and reading on performance psychology and the makeup of what makes someone a high performer. I love talking about it. I love reading about it. And maybe we'll talk about it a little more here.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what got us to do this. Whenever we first met about a month ago, which we'll talk about in a second, we spent an hour and a half talking about that stuff. And that's what led us to kind of do this. And now we're offshooting it to just a for fun podcast. Now, who am I? My name is Freddy Rojo. I've been making content for the last 12 years. I started off with Minecraft content, then I started doing more whatever. It doesn't matter what type of content I'm doing, but recently I've been doing more weight loss content because I used to weigh 615 pounds. Recently, I've been posting a lot of motivational stuff and just stuff in regards to my journey. I have gained some weight, but I'm trying to lose some weight back. Life is ups and downs, and that's one thing that I've realized is regardless of anything, you just have to stay consistent, stay on the plan, and will there be diversions throughout the way? Absolutely, but as long as you just stay consistent, anything is possible. Now, to get a little bit into the podcast, let's just talk about what we want from this. My one thing from this podcast is I just want to make 20 episodes. I've done 2 podcasts in the past, and they're more for fun, and I didn't see those going anywhere, but especially from last week's podcast when we had so much fun, I can easily see us doing 20 podcasts. So that's my goal, is just minimum 20 podcasts, period. What about you?
Man, my goals. It's kind of weird because it's like a restating of last week, right? But for me, like, I think I just want to put something out there on the internet, right? Out there for all to maybe listen to or take inspiration from. But my main focus or goal, I think, is to like make it immortalized, right? Like make the thoughts in my head, immortalized, so that maybe my kids one day will watch them and or listen to them and think like, man, my dad was awesome. Like, because we talked a little bit last week about like how like when someone knows they're gonna, let's say they know that their time's limited, right? And they have a child who's growing up. They haven't been married yet, or had a child, or graduated college, or done any of those things, and they might not be there to see it, so they film like videos about like, hey, congratulations on your first child or whatever, and then give like wisdoms or things that, I think it's cool to do that way before that you're at that like death's imminent type moment,
If you can go back and make a video for your kids at your wedding, whenever you and your wife got married, what video would you have made your kids to watch now?
Oh boy, wait, let me see if I understand that.
So if you can go back and make a video at your wedding with your wife,
okay,
before your kids were born,
okay,
what message or what type of video would you make your kids for them to watch now or in 5 years whenever they're more able to understand it?
I have no idea, man. What type of video would I make?
Keep going.
I don't know. I think I think the idea behind making any video for future anything is like, how do you condense all the things that you would want them to know about that moment or about that thing? How do you condense that into an easily digestible format, right? To where you're like, man, that really lands with them, and it has all the meaning the most meaning that words could possibly have, right? Because words sometimes can't do the job, right? That you can't describe certain things, and I don't know. I think I'd make a video that lent to the moment with lessons that I
And for a wedding, I feel like you don't even have to convey a message. If you just were to make a video, and I'm just thinking like for my future, right? For my wedding, I just want to try to make a video for my kids to show how happy we were and how happy we are in that moment, because that's a moment that they will never be able to live in the present, right? But we can try and make, or I can try and make a video that correlates to how happy we are, and like try to just show the wedding and like how much fun, like a vlog or something, you know?
Well, so like plenty of people have wedding videos. I don't have a wedding video because ours was very simple. It was after we had already had our first child. So we didn't do any kind of videography, you know, like we didn't do the big wedding. You know, it's just not the route we went. And that's probably why I had trouble like kind of giving you that. Because a lot of people do have wedding videos. Most people, I would say, probably have wedding videos, right? And so like you're saying, like, how do you focus on or centralize on just the moments that show your kids how happy you were in it? I get that.
Yeah. And then so for context, so I was going to say how we met and how we got to this point, but I want to hear from your perspective. So run it back, how we met and how we got here.
Okay.
You and I.
So Freddy came in for an interview. I'm not even certain how we reached out to you or found you. I think you had framed it a little bit. You had said somebody was like, you know, hey, you should really try where I work, or you were working with somebody from a realty standpoint or something. And we met in my office for an interview, for a sales role, and instantly hit it off. You know, I always love people who are like self-made or went through something difficult, because when I interview people, I'm like, you know, one of my questions is always, tell me something, you know, what's the most difficult thing you've ever dealt with or gone through? You know, because in my estimate, in one call close, 100% commission sales, people that come from like a rough beginning or a tougher background or had to do something very tough for years on end, they typically don't tuck tail and run at the first sight of difficulty. And 100% commission sales is exactly that, right? It is difficulty. It's, you know, it's
and that's to
adversity.
say the least. It is difficult 100%. I've been at that role for about a month, and it is difficult for sure.
Yeah, you're just getting smacked in the face every day with a new challenge and a new personality, like challenge in the form of new personalities and new objections, right? And a seemingly, at moments it can seem impossible to overcome them, and then you watch somebody surgically dice up, you know, a pitch and dice up the prospect and influence them to make a very hopefully not too emotional, but an emotional split second decision with tens of thousands of dollars. And that's what we do really, really well. And that's why it pays what it pays. And that's why only a small percentage of the population can actually do it or survive long enough to master doing it, right, at a high level.
And give us context. What position are you at? What company are you at? What do you do?
So I'm a director of sales for travel and leisure. I currently manage or oversee the WorldMark brand in Austin, Texas. I just spent 4 years, probably better part of 4 years, bringing the Wyndham brand to number one in the company status, and I've now handed that team over to someone else, and am currently in the process of doing the same exact thing and replicating that on a larger scale for more millions of budgeted revenue and on a larger personnel roster size or head count. And yeah, man, we're just doing the thing.
So long story short, he's a fucking killer. Is basically what he just said. And then so whenever we met, whatever he was pertaining to earlier, I was working at my last job, which was Spectrum. It was an inbound sales position where I worked at for 5 years. At that job on a call, I got a call with a client of Spectrum, and we talked for about 45 minutes, and they were a sales rep in Florida, and after talking, they said that you should just walk, and they recommended that I should work as what she did, and they recommended that I just walk into the nearest Wyndham building and with a resume and see if they'll interview me on the spot. Ended up doing it, ended up getting the job. That's how we met. Whenever we interviewed, we hit it off for about an hour and a half and towards the end, I was like, we should do a podcast. This was really fun. I don't really meet people like you ever. And he was like, let's fucking do it. We're fucking here.
and likewise, no, like I loved a lot about your story. Like, so that's the whole thing is that Freddy, you know, has lost tons of weight and like looks like he's getting down to a lean, mean fighting weight. But I love that he took it upon himself. I loved that he documented it. I love that he had the backbone to put it out there on the internet for people to see and hear about. But also, like, you subject yourself to pundits and all kinds of other comments, right? When you do stuff like that. I just loved like the courage and the confidence you have. And it's funny because, I've always wanted to do something like this, and I don't think I've ever had anybody that had the know-how or just like the, in general, like spark. Let's just go put some content out. I'd never met anybody that did that. And I've always wondered, always wanted to meet somebody that was like that. Like, you have the equipment, you have the stuff, like you have the know-how, and you just lend so much. And I'm like, man, that is a world I know nothing about. And I hope to learn a lot about it from you.
Yeah. I will say the only thing you'll probably learn when it comes to this, for me, the biggest thing is just it's just about persistence. We might post 20 of these and each of them get 5 views,
right?
But it won't be until we actually start trying to grow it, if we want to, that we will see success,
Yep.
Like, and we haven't really talked in regards to what we want to do in the future, like clips, like we kind of talked about last week. But for now, if we just have fun with it and just keep having fun with it, over time, either people watch or they don't. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because we're just having fun with it, Now, when it comes to, thank you for what you said, because last week he gave me a comment about how he really admires he's really happy that we met, and that he's grateful that we're able to do this because I have the equipment, I have the know-how, and basically what he said earlier. And nobody's ever like admired that of me. And that's always been something that I've always loved about myself that nobody ever said, other than my girlfriend, of course. Shout out Q, she's the best. And that's just one of the things it's one of those things that if you ask somebody after, or if you talk to somebody after like an hour, you might find out about them, but you won't verbally say you admire that about them, and you do. So thank you.
Yeah. No, I think it's all about being real, man. Like within minutes of meeting, you were like, because it's something you're proud of, and it's something that you identify. Like, you attach your success, or some of it at least, largely to the ability to do an incredibly difficult thing like that, right? And change a lot about your daily lifestyle, which can be scary and all. I don't know what your catalysts were. I'm sure as we talk through these episodes, like we'll dig into more layers of that onion. But yeah, man, like it's incredible, man. Self-starters and just people who, at the end of the day, we're all promised adversity, right? It's what you do with it that makes you special. Right?
What adversity do you think we're promised?
It comes in many forms, but I mean, like every day, you have difficult situations that you'll encounter every day, and it's not that they ever go away. You just get better at handling them, right? Like, what's difficult when you're 3 years old is not difficult when you're 23 years old, but it's like different things carry more weight when you're that age. That's obvious, but it's funny. So resilience, we can just go into a resilience bit here, because resilience, I think, is a muscle that you have to flex, right? You got to use it. You got to grow it. Thing about resilience, like, what makes a human resilient? Like, what do you have to do to acquire resilience, right? Or to grow your resilience? And like, you have to just keep overcoming stuff that you think you can't do at first, right? Or that things that seem incredibly difficult, or you don't know how you'll do it, like the unknown of how to do it, right? Or the unknown of whether you can do it or whether it's possible. And you just keep doing that. So like, I'm watching my son, Wally. He's 2.5.
Okay.
And so he's like climbing on this like, jungle gym or whatever you would call it, right? This like structure meant for playing, and this playscape. And he doesn't know like where he should put his foot next, but he's in this tube, this metal mesh tube that I can't get into, and I can't help him. My hands and arms don't fit into it. I can watch him and see him and I can walk him through it. He can hear my voice, but he's like struggling with it. And he gets halfway through and he's like freaks out. You can see the worry on his face. And I'm like, you got it, buddy. You're doing great. And he puts his hand down. And you're like, yeah, nice. High five. Like you're like, yeah, you got it. And like he worked his way through it. Now that obstacle is no longer as scary, even if it's scary and it's still, the wooden planks are too like really farther apart than what's comfortable for his little legs and arms to reach. Like, he now has done that and he has accomplished it. He has surmounted the the obstacle. And, you know, it's funny because now he's got a little bit more confidence. And the more you push him to do things, well, it's just like sometimes you just need somebody there telling you can do it. You will do it, you know, but like.
Or you can't, and that'll make you want to do it.
That. But there's a right time and a way to motivate people the right way, right? Some people feed off the you can't. Some people, you know, most people like need to hear the you can or the.
At least an example, like somebody else that has done it, like
That's right.
proof.
But the more difficult stuff, right, that you do, the more you become accustomed to overcoming difficult things, and therefore you start to get this like mindset of like, I can do that. I can't right now, but I'm not cool with that, right? And I'm gonna figure out how to, or I'm gonna work until I can.
This saying what we've been saying reminded me of something that I saw online. That was a video about how, I don't remember what year, but there was a year, like let's say 2025, where there was a runner that broke the record of the 1 mile. So it was like
4 minute mile.
4 minute mile.
In the same year, something like 30 other people did it. Or
Exactly.
right.
So like we were talking about earlier, how it just takes an example for somebody to do it, to have people be like, okay, so it is possible. And then 30 more people did it. Like how fucking crazy is that the mind limits you. Like it literally limits you, not only with achievements, with adversity, with goals. It's unfortunate that it does. And I can't wait to see what crazy stuff that technology will be able to do once they're able to unhinge that. Like, could you imagine like some sort of chip in our head that completely unlocks that part of our brain, and that we're able to push ourselves to our limits without the limits that we didn't even know were possible?
Like we believe that we can do it.
Yes.
And therefore we can.
Yes.
Because we just changed the chemical composition of our brain.
Yes.
For a split second.
Isn't that fucking
or
crazy?
Some electrical signal in our brain, right? Because ultimately, like, you know, like it's all electricity happening, right?
Yeah.
And that's what sends signals, and that's how your brain talks to itself. And I don't know, yeah. And then you can just hit a button, and like all of a sudden, your confidence is there, like a confidence button.
How much would you pay for to put in your head, and without no side effects, you can modify your brain chemistry?
That's pretty wild. How much would I pay?
Yeah.
Oh, I think like we don't know what that looks like. If you see it work on someone else and then they do incredible things, I think that the price tag goes way up, right? It's the overcoming the fear of that newness. But in the beginning, what would I pay? Oh man. I mean, if you know that on the back end of it, you become exceedingly rich, which money is just a tool, but then you have a tool to do more. I mean, like, I think you'd empty everything in your bank account, right?
Yeah.
If we're talking about money here, like money being the tool that it is, I think you would have to empty your bank account knowing that on the back end, like
how much
if it was
more?
like a guarantee that,
Yeah.
or almost guarantee, you know, like.
Now let's play devil's advocate. What if they make it like $100,000, something that's so affordable, like you can finance it, right? And all banks are giving them out because they know they'll make the money back. What happens in a world where so many people have it that now it's just a new normal? Like, what world is that we live in, where because everybody's so excellent is just normal?
Like, what's excellent now would just become normal.
Yeah.
And then what becomes exceptional once everybody's the current equivalent of excellent?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. You're asking a dystopian type question. I think not dystopian. That's probably the wrong word, but
future.
Like, I don't know, man.
I think that will happen one day.
I think that what happens. So it's like anything, right? Like so moving the needle from here, right, from a really low point to a rather high point, doesn't take nearly as much energy or effort or input as it does to move it from that really high point to like that elite point. Mm-hmm. Even though the distance is much smaller, it requires a lot more energy to keep improving. It requires a lot more input to keep improving. And as that, you know, improvement keeps happening, it just becomes more and more difficult to get that thing, you know, to get better and better and better and better. Cause you're just like improving on such minute processes and, you know, I don't know, processoral changes, like such minute processoral changes. I don't know. So Nick Saban is one of my favorite, he's one of my favorite philosophers of any kind. He's coaches, whatever you want. But like
Hearing Nick Saban as a philosopher is crazy. I've never heard that.
well, that's what he is, man. Like, so the way he breaks down like how there's 5 ways you can be at anything, right? Have we talked about this?
We have, but inform them.
Okay, so you can be 5 ways of anything at any activity that you participate in, right? You can be bad, right, which you almost have to try to be, right? Then you can be average, which is the sum of all the participants divided by that number, right? Like, you get the idea. Mm-hmm. It's the average of all the people, like, it's of everybody that participates in this thing. You're average. You're in the middle, the direct middle. Then you can be good at something, right? Which is like based on your God-given blessings, right? Based on what you were born with, what was congenital and what is inherent to you, right? You should be good at this thing based on what strengths God's given you, right? Then there's the next level up. So far we have bad, average, good. Then you have excellent. So excellent, it will get you 15 minutes of fame at it. It will get you, it will get you recognition. But you've obviously you weren't just like born with a strength at this thing, but you've put a ton of work into it, right? You've taken that a level beyond just what you were naturally at it, right? And you should always play to your strengths, right? So you should be good at something. You should be doing things that you're good at naturally, or people have a tendency or a propensity to do things they're naturally good at. And then you have elite. So elite is like you were probably born with some like crazy, good attributes, right? You were born with like a crazy ability for this thing, but then also you put an amount of work and focus and practice and honing on it that's just like a cut above. It is like it's going to get you more than 15 minutes of fame or recognition. It's going to get you, like you're recognized by like all the participants and or depending on the activity, the entire human race, that you are like, you're being told that you are just this exceptional thing based on your results in this because of your input and your physical or mental attributes.
Going into your current position, so for context, Chris used to work in a restaurant. He used to own and manage restaurants.
Yeah, I worked in restaurants, owned a bar. Yep.
And then he hopped over to the sales side of things because he was recommended by a friend. Going into the sales position that you were at 9 years ago, give or take, what level do you think you were at?
In sales?
Yes. At that position that you were at.
What do you mean? But
so in whenever you were in house sales, whenever you first started at Wyndham.
Like as a rep?
Yes.
Okay.
What level do you think you were at?
Like if I were to go back to being...
Like yourself whenever you first went into the job, do you think you were...
I don't know, man.
Like average, good, excellent, elite. Because you weren't bad, because you obviously are here.
I was bad at it for 8 months. 10 months total before I started making money, but I was bad at it for 8 months. I mean, it's 100% commission. So like if you're in the bottom of the rotations because you're not writing anything hardly, like I made like 20 or 30 grand in like 9 months. It was abysmal. Like I had to like eat dinner at my dad's house 5 nights a week and pack lunches and stuff. Like, I could only, the money coming in, which was minimal, was going straight to my rent at my apartment, which was $810 a month. Like it was not a lot. It was renting basically an uninsulated room on City Park Avenue in New Orleans. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was 9 months until you got really started making money.
I mean, 10 realistically. I made 120 grand my first year, and like most of it was in the back 3 months of the year.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
So to ask me like what I was at, I mean like at different points, but like in just sales in general now, like what I've learned in that first year about myself, it wasn't so much what I learned about sales. It's what I learned about myself, I think. Right? Like I was like, so I thought I would just say in most rooms that I was in life, I was one of the best in the room at that thing. Anything that I like really applied myself to or put myself into, like I was one of the best in the room. Right? And I was like, well, why would this room be any different? Like I had a cockiness about me, and it probably cost me a lot of help, which I could have shortened that 9 months or 10 months down to probably 4 months if I had not been this cocky, like younger, like, guy walking in the room. But like, what did I learn about myself? Well, one, I had this, I walked into that room and it was a bad culture, man. There was like a locker room, and they would haze. Like they were straight up hazing, which is part of the deal. It's fun, right? But it's not fun. It's not fun if you're the one receiving it. And,
it's fun for them.
and so I was the brunt of that for a while. And you know what? There was this one guy, this guy, Sean Hunter, who's largely the reason I'm still in this today. He was making fun of me and talking trash. He was the best rep in the room, and he's still to this day one of the best reps I've ever worked with. But like I had this like chip on my shoulder. I was like, man, like, I'm going in spoonful after spoonful of just eating it. And like my now wife, then girlfriend, Jenny, was like, she's like, why are you going back in for more of that crap? Like, why are you going back in for another spoonful of shit? I'm like, man, because if that jerk can do it, I can do it. If one person can do it, I can do it, and I'll quit after I beat him.
So when you say spoonful of crap, Jenny was saying why do you keep going back? She's saying like, why do you keep going back to that job where you're getting shit on, you're not getting paid?
No, making very little money, and they're shoving McDonald's applications in my face.
Really?
Oh, no joke. Like,
tell me some hate stories. No, we won't name any names, but they would put some McDonald's job applications in your face because you were underperforming.
So they always say you're either selling or being sold, right? Like you're either being sold on the reasons they can't buy it, or you're doing the selling on why they can, will, and should, right? And so it's I would come back, and it's like you come back and they're like, did you say this? And you're like, yeah, I said that. They're like, well, if you had said that, then this wouldn't be an objection. So, it's like very smart-assy back and forth. It's like very sassy. Like the relationship between a manager and a rep, especially a new rep. And they think they know things, and they're coming in with a little bit of gusto like I did. And it's like, I already said that. Well, you couldn't have said it, because if you did, we wouldn't be right here where we are with this being the objection. So if you said it poorly, or you're lying. And
or
that's
your
what
tone
they do.
wasn't good,
or whatever. It didn't land
reasons.
clearly,
Yeah.
right? But a lot of times they'd be like, no, you didn't. Go back and say it again. No, you didn't. Go back and say it again. And like, it's frustrating. And you're like, at first you're like, damn, I'm terrible. Like, okay. And you get like this like shy, meek, like peon, like you go back to the table, and then eventually you start getting like if you got a backbone, if you got spine, you got some fangs to you. I eventually turn around. I'm like, I'm not eating it. I'm like, listen here, mofo. Like I said it. All right. Like, listen to me. Listen to the words out of my mouth. I fucking said it, and so like Sean was messing with me one day,
and was Sean a manager, just another
no,
rep?
he's a rep.
Okay,
he was the top rep in the room.
Top rep.
He was a machine. He's an animal. He's still an animal.
Are you friend with him now?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. Like loosely.
Yeah.
We don't have beers. I don't even
I
text him on his birthday.
Okay.
Am I friends with him? Like, I think if you asked him, he'd say yeah.
You guys are, I think there's like he's a work friend.
Yeah.
You guys are acquaintances.
There's a mutual respect.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I was a nobody to him.
Yeah.
And I hadn't done what he, everybody that comes in this industry has to work through this incredibly tough period of like investment. Like you invest feelings, you invest like just you put up with a lot of abuse even, right? From an owner, you have a lot of bosses. Every time you turn in paperwork for a credit card, it's like you used to have to do that through the admin team. Oh, you missed like a letter here and there, or you wrote it in the wrong color pen. Go back and have them refill it out.
So the wrong color pen.
It's a real thing. You couldn't fill it out in blue pen.
Yep.
So we used to have a rule: if you see a blue pen on the floor, you throw it away.
That's funny.
Because you're supposed to fill it out in black. Now, most times people think that's weird and backwards because typically you want a colored pen, like a blue or a green pen, when you're signing documents for legal purposes, because it's easier to tell the difference between a copy and the original. Where if you fill it out in black pen, it's harder, right? Because the copies are also in black, but it's harder to tell if it's anyway. So like, there's this rule. I don't know why. I can't explain it to this day. Why we could not fill it out in any other color but black ink. So we had to fill it out in black ink. And like I remember, like as a new rep, I had a blue pen. Or sometimes the owners would just grab it out of a cup of pens if you weren't paying close attention, right? Because sometimes you let them fill out a credit app and you get off the table for a second, come up for air, and discuss strategy with your manager. And they're filling out this credit app, and it's like, and you go back to the table and you see blue pen, you're like, oh. It was just one of those things. So you knew you were going to get hazed, or you just had them refill it out right there. And you got really good. You got really strong at holding these people on the table, But But anyway, yeah, I digress to say Sean Hunter, gave me some crap, and to this day, he is largely one of the reasons why I stuck in that room. And what's funny is I got really good, and it took me before I stole a month from him, before I beat him for a month. It probably took me a year and a half, maybe 2 years,
to get to that point?
Before I stole a month from him, before I beat him for a month.
Now, you've told me this story twice, I believe. Can you tell them the story about how you got so good by visiting the top sales rep in New York or wherever it was?
So it's like what?
And the timeline. So you were...
So I'm a new rep. I don't know. It's probably just out of that 10-month of stinking really bad because I had enough money to fly to New York. So, as the new guy, you don't get a lot of days off. But like a lot of times when reps come in, they're like, hey, like what's a characteristic or what are the characteristics of a top rep? Like what does a top rep look and how do they act? How do they behave? And that's actually a smart question to ask, right? Is like, how do they behave? Right? Like not what do they know or teaches that. Like it's like watch how they operate and you learn a lot. But anyway, so there's like this, when I got in, I took it upon myself. Like nobody told me to do this. This is one of the things I think that made me different, or that makes me different. I don't wait for information or blessings to come my way. I chase them down like a hungry tiger. Like I that is the thing I'm hungriest for is what are the winners doing, right? And I chase that knowledge down. So, I always tell this story about I went and sought out like the top, like probably 4 or 5 reps in the company. There's this app called CorePro. You can look up everybody's stats in the entire company. And I was like, I'm going to find like a couple of these people. I'm sure they won't all respond to me. So I either sent, I sent emails out to a few of them, right? And you get nothing back, no response. So I went to New York City. The girl, Shireen Abazid, I apologize, Shireen, if you ever listen to this one day and I didn't say your last name right, but Shireen was the top rep in the company that year. And so this girl is a hustler, man. She's Egyptian. She's a badass. And so I go into their office in New York at Midtown 45 cold, like no, whatever, no setup meeting or anything. And like the first day I'm up there, I was like, hey, like, can you spend like half hour with me, whatever, like just like I know a lot of people probably ask you a lot your time, or they want to know what you're saying or pitching and whatever. And she's like, of course, she like kind of gives me like, yeah, sure, I'll sit with you. And then she's like, yeah, hang out over there. I'm like, okay. So they put me in like the corner. Like there's a desk. It's an open format floor. And I'm like, okay. So I sit at this desk. I'm waiting for 30 minutes or an hour. I can kind of hear other pitches happening. So I'm learning something. I'm watching or listening to other reps pitch, but I can't see or hear her. But like her desk is just like full of awards. It was no wall, like no solid barrier or anything, but like I wasn't close enough to really get any good info. So I couldn't like overhear or anything. And so she dips out on me. I'm sitting there for like 3 hours. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, okay, like she's got to be done, right? And I didn't see her. Kept watching her go back and forth to the manager's desk. Didn't see her come back to her table for a while. Watched her owners get gifted. She went off somewhere else, and I'm like, she didn't come back. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on right now? And so like I wait a little longer. I'm like, okay. And so I finally go ask a girl at the desk. I'm like, hey, is Shireen like coming back to her table? She's like, oh, she left for the day. I'm like, what? So I just got ghosted. I'm like, okay. So the next day I come back and I'm like, hey, look, I get it. You're busy, whatever. And so she does the same thing to me that day. Third day I come back. I'm like, hey, like, what's your favorite energy drink? I'll be here I'm going to be here again tomorrow waiting for any time that you can spare. I'll buy you lunch. I'll buy you dinner. Like, I'll be here for the next, like tomorrow I'll be here. What's your favorite energy drink or coffee? And I was like, look, and if for some reason you can't give me the time tomorrow, I'll be here the next morning and the next morning. And so finally that day, she finally sat with me and gave me like, 30, 45 minutes of her time.
And what did she say in that time for you to be?
Nothing pitch related.
What did she tell you? Just about your, like, be confident, just like your mindset going into it, basically?
So she told me how she meditates every day before work and before she gets on table. She told me that like her habits, like she's like, when I come in here, it's all business. Like I don't sit here. You'll see other reps playing on their phone. You'll see other reps playing on their phones. You'll see other reps doing everything but the actual job or getting better at the actual job that we do. And like, she's like, I stay positive about everything all the time. She's like, positivity is so crucial in this.
Okay.
You know, and she's like, I manifest a lot. Like I speak in big numbers. I come from commercial real estate, like in New York City. And the crazy thing, and the crazy thing about that is outside of their window of their sales center, there's like this condo complex or like complex, a building in downtown Manhattan, right? And so there's this building and it says condos starting at $2.4 million, right? And it's like a studio. It's like a tiny little like crap hole.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So like they're pitching and they're like, well, look, if you want to stay here, your kid's at NYU. Well, if you're going to come to New York, how often do you come already? Okay, well, if you wanted to buy a month a year here, let's say you wanted to buy a condo and you only wanted to own it for a month, you come every December every year or every April because you like, you know, New York in spring, right? And it's like, if you wanted to own a condo here for 1 month a year, well, by that math, you know, you'd have to spend $200,000 to own it for a month a year, right? And that's a tiny little matchbox. I can put you in a presidential reserve suite every year for the rest of your life for a week or 2 weeks for a quarter of that or half of that, you know?
That's
and the math
crazy.
makes sense, right? Because
that's like,
well, she's like, if it's 2.4 million for a studio with like, you know, 800 square feet or whatever it is, you know, she's like, what do you think a 2-bedroom with two bathrooms and a view
an actual
looks,
washer and dryer in the
yeah,
unit.
it'd be $5 million, $6 million, right? So by that math, to own that for a month a year, you're talking about $500,000, $600,000, you know. And she's like, how about for $200,000? I give you that month a year. You know what I mean? Like, and then she just cracks these $200,000 deals like left and right.
And she said she would do that.
That was part of what she gave me.
Yeah. That sounds like such a good sales pitch because it's so true and it's literally right
it's
there.
Real.
Yeah.
It's not false math. I mean, you know, but nobody owns anything. You don't own it if you don't own it. You know, you can't own a house for a month a year. Like, yes, by that logic, sure, it makes sense, but like that's not the way the world works.
How did you take the information that she gave you and use it into your day-to-day job? Like, did you just now go to work and now you would not play games, or you would only stay with business and you try to stay positive? What mindset shift did you do?
I don't think I took any of it really. Like, I did eventually because you start hearing enough people say that and you would look at enough top performers doing the same thing and they're like, mindset, positive, can do. Find what wins. Live with an attitude of abundance, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? And eventually you hear enough of them say it, you're like, oh, that's real. But what I really took from it again was that resilience muscle. I outweighted a top rep who does not give anyone her time, and I got her time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was another one of those like Sean Hunter things. Now it's a Shireen thing. It's like when you do difficult things and you actually do it to the point, like whatever it takes, right? You do whatever it takes to succeed and you keep doing that. You're like, man, I can do whatever it takes to succeed every time. I am used to doing whatever it takes. I am used to succeeding because I know that no matter what, the odds won't be insurmountable for me. Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like you just get used to winning because of the type of attitude that you have. And that attitude has worked so many times, right? To get you where you needed to go or get you to whatever end that you were trying to chase down, right? And then you become used to winning. So it's like, it's never like, I can't do it. It's how can I do it? What would I have to do for it to happen? What would the surrounding atmosphere and climate have to be for that? What would the market conditions have to be for me to do that? What surrounding factors can I affect that can make it such that I can do that?
What surrounding? Yeah.
Well, if you want to do a triathlon, right, and you're really good at biking and swimming, but not so good at running, well, now you know you got to go be able to run whatever distance. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. You just look at the weakness factor or the thing that's like the gap to bridge, and then you identify those factors.
Would you ever do a triathlon or like some sort of marathon or long distance form?
Would I ever? Oh, man. It's not important to me.
No.
It's not important to me.
What's important to you then?
Oh, man.
Is it important for you to make...
That's a broad question, man.
Is money important to you?
Money is important to me to the extent that I can provide a certain quality of life like I don't aspire to be, you know, I don't know. It's that is
Like,
such a
do you dream of being a billionaire and having a private plane? Do you aspire to be that level, or are you?
I don't no, I don't. I don't need to be a billionaire. Like I'm not like at this moment it's not important to me. It could become important to me maybe. Like if like is once you like think about it like this. Once you acquire or amass, like you have a process or a business acumen or you have a formula that you follow to start really successful companies or flip houses well or write really riveting books or whatever it is that gets you to that level and you start to amass tens of millions. And then you're like, well shoot, like tens of millions isn't exciting anymore. Then it becomes I need to have, you know, I need to have 9 figures. I need 100 million. Right? And then like you do that and it becomes seamless or not easy. Nothing ever comes easy. You're just like I said, you're just better at doing difficult things that most people can't. And so like then once you have 9 figures, it's like, well, what's the next level up? But here's what you don't know what you don't know. Like what doors does being worth 9 figures open for you that we don't have right now? I don't know what rooms and who I'm like what rooms I gain entry to and who I'm rubbing elbows with. You ever had that question like if you could have dinner with anyone, you know, living or dead, right? One dinner for 4 hours with anyone in history. They could be alive or they could not, you know, gone pecan, right? Like what like let's just say if you could have dinner with anyone that's alive right now and that you get that question, right? It's like, dude, when you're worth $1 billion, that's something you can do. Like you don't have to be an elite astronaut to go to space if you're worth $1 billion.
Now, question. If you were given the option of that, you can have a dinner, so like 2 to 3 hours with whoever you want, alive or dead, or $50,000, which would you take?
Oh, dinner. $50,000 changes nothing about my daily.
Okay, let's do $1 million for you then.
Okay. $1 million? Yeah, that would change some things. All right, wait, I could take $1 million or
a dinner with anybody alive or dead.
oh, I think I'd still go with the dinner.
Okay. Now, who would you have dinner with?
You're asking me questions I would have to think on. That's a
you don't have to say the
question.
one, but one of the people. Because one is like you have to do a list and then you narrow it down. But one of the like top 5 people that you'd probably pick. They're like the first person that came to your mind.
Dude, first person that came to my mind was Mark Cuban.
Okay.
Second person was Alex Hormozy.
Okay. Why them?
Two of my favorite philosophers on business. Like just Mark Cuban. I mean, he's got 1 million one-liners that are just so good. Like in revenue generation or sales, if you don't want your boss's job, they're probably not very good at it. I love that quote. If you don't want your boss's job, they're probably not very good at it. My other favorite Cuban quote is if you want to predict the future, invent it.
Damn.
Like how sick is that, right? Like,
that is crazy.
Like if you want to predict the future, invent it. Like whatever it is that you are like daydreaming about that does not exist or that would be cool, invent it. Like
what?
Chase it down. That's what Elon Musk does basically. Like
I don't know how he does what he does. He has like 7 different, I mean, the way he does what he does is he just finds people to do it for him. He just has a vision. And that's really what life is. Like if you have a strong enough vision and you have enough money, you can do it. And don't get me wrong, he's created some crazy things. He's definitely a smart man. But
well, he attracts top talent for one reason or another, right? Like he's willing to do the most cutting edge things. And people that like are technology focused are all about the cutting edge. They want to be the first to this thing or one of the first, right? So people, I think, that get into tech as an industry, like in any form, like they have a large affinity for novelty or what's new, like for new technology. They're the first people to buy iPhones. They're the first people to buy this new technology that not a lot of people believe in yet. They're the first to go to electric cars before there's a lot of like charging stations around. Because like the obvious inefficiency of going electric is that you have to charge it, right? Well, you're limited on range until the battery gets better or till there's, obviously more charging stations along. They're the first people that buy stuff like that, right? They're the first ones in, right? Like that's the whole thing. But like, I don't know. So you asked me why, all right. So back to why
Well, I had a quick question.
Okay, go ahead.
Quick question on what you said. So Mark Cuban said, I forget the exact quote, but it was basically invent what you want the future to look like.
It could be podcast, man. It's like, would you like to have a podcast one day, Freddie, where you had, 200 million listeners?
Sure.
You would.
Sure.
You'd like the fame that comes with. You'd like the rooms that gains you entry to. The money that comes with it is likely very cool too, right? Yeah. So invent the podcast. Like it starts here, where we're at now.
Well, outside of this, what is something that you want to invent? That a future that you want to invent for yourself?
You are asking a lot of really good questions.
And I'll let you think on that for mine. I'll say mine.
Go ahead.
While you think on that, I think for me, my answer to that question would be a world where there is a single platform that can help you lose weight easier. Because there are 1,001 apps like MyFitnessPal and all these different things that you can use to help lose weight. But there's either a paywall or it's not all in one. But I would love just one thing that helps you like lose weight overall. So like it'll tell you what to eat, it'll tell you how to work out, it'll do everything in one. That's kind of my vision. Now, if you want to take that and try to go make the app, go by all means, please, because it'll make the world a better place. But that's like.
Well, I don't want to oversimplify anything, man. Like, and everybody faces different challenges. Everybody has different chemical composure and chemical composition. Man, I'd tell you like. What's crazy to me is like, I think when you say easier, like you're removing friction, you're removing, things that would potentially get in the way or derail you from that goal. It's never going to be easy. I don't like the word easier. I would just change the way you frame it.
Really?
Yeah, I would make it focal.
I think things make it easier for sure. Convenient, more convenient, 100%.
The knowledge, maybe.
Well, when I say that, I'm more referring to with weight loss. It's just a lack of information or a lack of want. It's one or the other. Period.
I agree with this.
So if there is something, and there are things online that will do this, where they'll give you knowledge, but people are lazy and people don't want to search the knowledge. People don't want to go out of their way and watch a 10-minute video on how to lose weight, and they'll maybe get a little snippet. I just think that there are apps that do this already, but I just want the weight loss to be readily accessible for everybody to where if they want to do it, they have this. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think that things make things easier.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, I probably will eat some of those words here shortly. Or I'll eat them now. No.
I want to hear your mindset before what I said. Now, you said that you don't think that there's such thing as easier. Why?
Well, you said, so let's talk about, you brought up two great points. So information or desire, mm-hmm. right? Information, there's so much information out there and they're all pitching you something.
Yeah.
Right? A handful of people out there are actually putting content out there where it's freely accessible. Like Dan Go. Go follow Dan Go on LinkedIn. He puts more free, like great knowledge out there on how to have longevity, how to lose weight and stay fit, and just tips and tidbits. And it's like, it's 100% for free and it's all valid.
Okay.
Right? Dan Go is amazing.
D-A-N-G-O?
Yeah, D-A-N-G-O. You got it.
Perfect.
And so like if you follow him on LinkedIn, you'll get a lot of free stuff. But the thing is, man, like I think what makes it difficult is there's so much information to sift. How do you research it all? Like it's daunting. You could theoretically go research all the top ones, and it's like most of them are selling you something. They're selling something, right? So that's problem number one. Two, you said desire. I think that's really where it starts and ends, man. Like how bad do you really want it? And the thing is, a lot of times where a coach I think comes in on that is they can tell you the things like when you want to get a behavior out of somebody, pitching them on how it benefits them, or telling them or painting a picture of what their life looks like after that, I think is more powerful than like, I want to do it for these reasons, right? Everybody like says like, oh, I want to lose weight so I can fit into this pair of pants or look this certain way or look like this certain person. But it's like, the truth is if you lose weight, right, a lot of times more people will want to do business with you, right? It's less about the shallow side of being in shape and more about the fact that like outside of like sexual
desires,
whatever, right? Like, or I think people that take it, I think when someone takes care of themselves, their words become more trustworthy. The things that they ask you to do, you want to do them because it's like, oh, well, this person makes this decision or these decisions in their life, or at least they look like they do. You know, I could want to emulate that. People a lot of times that will do things. It's one of the levels of influence, but like people will want to do things because they want to be like you or they want you to like them. And, you know, it's like when someone who obviously values nutrition and discipline with regard to working out every day and like that kind of stuff, you want that person to like you to some weird degree, right? Like, because it's like if they value a lot of other things that are difficult to attain, if they value you, right, then you are that much more important or something like that. Damn. Because it's less about like, I don't know, necessarily like a lot of things come with getting in better shape. Your health is better. You don't look or sound as sickly. Like you don't have hard times breathing. You don't get poor sleep. Therefore, you don't have as many wrinkles on your face because you're taking in more oxygen and thusly your brain functions the next day better and you speak better and you speak more clearly. You speak with diction and like your sentences are coherent. Like it parlays into it trickles into so many other things that it's the whole package of health. It's not just, you know what I mean? Like it's not just the way you look visibly. It matters for sure, but I think it's all the other positives that come out of it.
It's so unfortunate because whenever I was bigger, I would always ask myself, why do looks matter? Like why? Like I would always like kind of question it because I was just kind of coping for me being so big. And as I've gotten thinner and healthy, I do realize that looks do matter. It's even just unconscious. Like humans just judge humans subconsciously regardless of anything. Now, can you consciously change it? What you think? Of course. But there will always be some sort of judge a book by a cover regardless of anything. Like if you see somebody fit, I admire their physique. Like I admire them and just based off what they look like. I don't know who they are. I don't know how they treat their mom, you know. But just looking at the book, I admire the book, right? Now, if I see somebody that's bigger, I'm like, damn. And like, for example, anytime I see somebody bigger on walking in the neighborhood, like I don't see that too often, but when I do, I smile and I laugh because I'm so grateful for them putting their foot forward. There was one time I was coming home from work and it was a later shift. I don't remember. It was about a year ago and it was at my last house. It was about 11:30 and there was this bigger set man that was maybe 450, like 5'8", like really, really big. And he was walking in the middle of the night. And like, I'm so proud of you because I remember those nights where I would go out at night because I was so ashamed of being seen. I would go out at night because it's not hot and that's like the most comfortable environment you do. So I was just like, I went on a tangent and it was all over this, but I don't know where that was going. I was just kind of rambling.
So I always had this thing, right, where I don't think I heard this from anyone, but like it's kind of sick like that people can body shame people or make fun of them. But I think like that it's less about that, like not to get into the negative side of that. I've always said this thing to myself, like, or when I've heard people like body shaming someone or like saying something, right, that it's like, dude, like you never make fun of somebody who's bigger that's working out, that's walking or running or doing a thing. You never make fun of that. When you see them like running or walking, like it's like I've been around people commenting like, "Oh, look at this person, this whale or whatever," right? And it's like, you look at them and you're like, "What the fuck? Like what?"
Yeah.
Like,
Especially if they're working out.
Like, hold on, you'd be complaining a lot more if you saw them sitting on a couch not doing anything, and you're the same person that's like, "Oh, my taxes are going to pay in their medical insurance and stuff." It's like I've heard people literally talk like this, and I'm like, it's like, dude, like, how could you ever shame someone for doing something about it? That's the person you need to cheer on the most. That's the one you need to go be like, hey, how can I help? Like, what other obstacle can I remove for you? Can I just tell you a happy word, or like, hey, like, great job, like, way to be, like, keep doing it, like, like, keep doing it for you, like, amazing, like, like that's. But also, like, sometimes you just don't say shit and you just applaud them silently, like, hell yeah, like, just putting positivity out there in the universe about that person. You know what I mean? Like even in your own head, it's like, but never, like, dude, you shouldn't make fun of anyone or never say anything negative about anybody that's larger. But also, like, you should definitely go out of your way to applaud and take a moment and be like happy for that person. Like, even if you don't ever say it to them, but you should if you can. And like, but you also, like, I don't know how it works. Like, like, maybe somebody that's in that frame of mind just needs to sweat silently. They don't need to hear you. They don't want to be noticed. Maybe they don't want to hear you say like, "Hey, great job." Like, you know what I mean? Because then it's like, "Oh, is it that obvious?" You know what I mean? I don't know the potential damage that could do too, like, or whatever. Like, maybe they would just rather be unnoticed until like they're in a, physical state that they're proud of or happy with.
I'll say this from personal experience. Whenever I was working out, throughout my weight loss process, in person, I don't think I got one comment of like, keep going, I see you working hard, don't stop, like nothing, like not even.
Would you have wanted it?
Yes.
Okay.
Because there has been, once I was done losing weight and I started doing my marathon training, there was one time, and this is the only time, when I was running. It was one of my first long jogs. I was doing like a 10-mile jog, something like that. And I was about 6 miles in, and I was dying. Like my ankles were hurting, my knees were hurting, and I just felt like I just wanted to give up.
Yeah.
And I was passing somebody that was really fit. Like he had a tank top, he had muscles, he was super fit. And he just like looked at me kind of struggling, and he was like, "Come on." Like we were kind of passing each other. And about 20 yards away, he was like, "Come on, bro, come on." He was hyping me up. And whenever we were passing, we were like not shook hands, but like high fived. And then while I kept running, he's like, "Come on, keep going, keep going." That moment I would never forget. Because of him, I was able to push that training. And who knows, maybe if it wasn't for that, I would have kept pushing myself over time.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. That one comment you never forgot, and you're talking about it right now.
Never. I've never forgotten
That's
about it.
what's
And there are times where I'm struggling, and I do remember that moment when I'm jogging. Now, and that was one time of easily hundreds of times that I've passed other people jogging. Now, goes to show, if you can motivate somebody, do it. And it's very uncomfortable to do so. But if you can go up to that person in the gym that's a little bigger, and maybe it's their first time seeing them, go up to them and be like, "Hey, I see you." Like, for example, in the gym that I used to frequent, there would be times where I'd see a new face, and it was like a bigger set woman this one time. And I just went up to him and be like, "Hey, I used to weigh 615. Just want to let you know that it's possible and to not stop." And from there, like, we just say hi.
Heck yeah.
And yeah, because you never know what little things will affect somebody.
Do you think it means more in any way coming from someone that you perceive to be fit? Like, do you think that meant so much because that guy was like in shape and in a tank top and whatever? Like, do you think it meant any more or less? Like, why do you remember this moment? Because it was the one out of hundreds of times? Probably that. Does it matter that the person giving the compliment?
I think it does. I think it does. Go ahead.
Would it be perceived differently if it were from someone fit versus someone that you perceived not to be fit?
I don't think it would have impacted me differently because it was still the one-off. Now, if that would have been like the 10th time that happened, and then there was like a fit person or a bigger person, I think I would have taken more inspiration from the bigger person because they're also going through the same struggle. You know?
They can relate.
Yes. And that's why whenever I do try and tell people, like that lady that I told you at the gym, I told her like, hey, I used to be 6'15". I'm telling you this because it's like I'm living proof it's possible. Just keep going. Because it is possible. And all you got to do is keep going.
Dude, I've never been 6'15". I can only empathize.
Yeah.
I can't sympathize. And you're right. It probably means way more from someone else who knows the thought loop that you go through on the daily. You know what I mean? Like, because they can appreciate it in a different way.
Earlier, you said that we were talking about somebody wanting something.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think you can kindly influence somebody to want something? Like weight loss, or even something like stopping of drugs or stopping.
So my initial thought goes to, painting a vivid picture of what things in their life that they currently don't consider, right? But painting a picture of how great certain things will be or how it benefits them in the other side of it better is that's where you start with that answer, right? And then we got to start filling in details of like what that looks like. What are the market conditions or the climate? What is the surrounding, like what does the world look like from that different vantage point, right? And so you paint the picture of that for them on the other side of what hasn't happened yet or what they haven't done yet. And if you paint a vivid enough picture with the right adjectives after having found out what's important to them, right? Or find out what kind of person they are. Are they a status person? Like there's only a handful of like, you can probably
Different wants.
Exhaust a list of buying motives, so to speak, right? Dominant buying motives. And so like you can hit like a greed button. Are they greedy? Are they status person? Are they, there's a lot of them, right?
Yes. And kind of touching on what you said, I feel like if you just ask them enough questions to see what they are like, because here's the thing, if they're 50 pounds overweight and they're happy and they don't give a fuck, you're not going to get them to want it, right? But if you're talking to somebody that's morbidly obese and can barely walk, you can ask enough questions for them to talk about what struggles or what things that they are inconvenient because of the weight loss, what things inconvene them because of their weight, where you can paint them a picture that will hopefully motivate them to at least keep going, So that's crazy.
And there's like a thing where it's like the best possible version, right? Like, or the best, well, I don't like to say possible because what's possible, whatever you believe is, right? Whatever but, no, it's crazy, right? Because you can go look at all the success stories and that's what everybody's going to sell you on is look at this person's life and look what's different. The funny thing is like, there are things that I think people don't consider on the other side of all things, whether it's fitness or, I don't know, wealth, like being like, if you have money, it's like, oh, well, I can get all this stuff. No, like what about the other side of the things that you can do for other people? Right. Like I was watching this thing on Warwick Dunn. He's a running back. He's from he's from back home in Louisiana. And, the long and the short of it is this guy's like an incredible human, but he won the Man of the Year award for the NFL. And his thing was buying homes for single mothers raising children, raising, young boys without their dads. And so mothers just like his mom. And his mom passed away right after he committed to Florida State out of high school. And he still went there. Coach Bowden was like, hey, man, like, you don't have to come here. Like, I totally understand if you need to stay home by family and whatnot. And he's like, nope, my mother and I made this decision together, and I'll honor my mother by coming here. But, the whole thing was like, I don't know. He's just this incredible guy. I forget where was I going with this?
He was Man of the Year.
Yeah. So what do you do with the money once you have it? And this guy was buying homes. Like, what can you give other people, or what can you add to their lives when you get the money, or for your own life? I think when people like, let's say someone is morbidly obese, I imagine that comes with a lot of health problems. It comes with poor sleep. It comes with like poor, just like body function and all that, right? Dude, if you knew like that by getting in shape, like you could breathe, do you know how liberating it is to like be able to breathe well? Right? Like just like I got unhealthy and got healthy again. And like that to me has been one of the greatest things. I don't snore when I sleep. I get like restful sleep most of the time. on days where especially days that I work out, where I really get after it, right? Like you sleep better, your quality of sleep's better, and your body retains more oxygen, which is required for all healing processes in your body. It's required for all preemptive stuff. So to prevent cancers, having a higher VO2 content in your blood, like is like, dude, you are less at risk for literally every disease. But like, there's also just the sheer fact that like you're breathing effortlessly, right? And that is so crucial. That's a thing that people that have not experienced it can't appreciate. They don't know that that's on the other end of it. So they don't even know to appreciate it because they either haven't thought about it in a long time, or have like, you know what I mean? Like think about that. Like that's a health benefit and a feeling that is like incredible.
For those that have never been obese, I'm going to just say a few things that you don't think about how inconvenient they are until you're that big. And I feel like one of the biggest things is a lack of confidence because you're so big, mixed on top of because you're so big, you sweat so easily. And when you sweat so easily, you're so uncomfortable. So whenever I was so big, I would sweat from walking up a flight of stairs at school. Like it was bad. And because of that, I would just be uncomfortable throughout a lot of portions of my school and work or anything. And that mixed with already just being big and uncomfortable with my body, you just don't know those things until you live them. And another thing is also just being judged by everybody. Like I feel like whenever I was so big, people would always like be very nice, but very short. Like people wouldn't give me the time of day like they do now because they just didn't care. Like the only people that would genuinely talk to me is like my old buddy, one of my old buddies, and my mom. And outside of that, I would get my outlet of my social hit was like online gaming, you know? So be grateful for what you have because it really just, you don't know how good you have it until you don't. And then whenever you don't have it, you're going to wish that you did and you're going to be sad. And there are people out there that, like, it's just crazy to think that because we were born in the United States, we're just because of that, we're already more well off than half the world, you know? Which is just a crazy thing.
Yeah.
And then us having significant others and a house and all these other things make it like, we're just very blessed. We're very, very blessed. And I hope that you watching are also blessed. And remember to count your blessings because you never know when it'll be taken away from you or when your life will be taken away, you know? Because I was talking to Amanda at work and one of her cousins was golfing and it wasn't raining or anything. Like there were clouds in the distance from a storm 30 miles away. A lightning strike hit the golf club whenever they were golfing and he died on the spot.
What?
Yeah. So whenever God wants to take you, he's going to take you. It doesn't matter. And whether you believe in God, I'm not going to get into what I believe, but a higher being, whatever it is, just Mother Nature will take you whenever she wants to take you, basically, you know? So just be grateful.
I love that. So gratitude, dude. So one of my favorite things, told a little bit on the last, episode or the first time we spoke, about replacing expectation with appreciation. To me, it's one of the most important principles, and I don't always adhere to it, but I try to, right? And I constantly try to remind myself. But replacing expectation with appreciation. So humans by nature are only upset when they have an expectation of a behavior or an outcome that isn't met. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So like I always use the one like driving in traffic, right? And somebody cuts you off. And instead of you going, that, name call, like in that moment, if you can stop and be like, all right, I'm grateful that I have a car, that I'm driving home. I'm not walking to work. I'm not walking home in the rain, right? I don't have to catch buses. I don't have to do any of that. I'm in a car, right? And then I'm grateful that like I had the reflexes. I'm born with a body that can react in a timely fashion so I don't hit this other person, right? And then I'm going to get home safely to my kids. I didn't hit them. It was scary for a moment, but I didn't hit them, right? But if you can be grateful for like your senses, your sight, your eyesight, dude. There are people that won't ever see. Like they're born they've never seen anything.
And there are people out there that are blind as a bat and have to wear bifocals for their, you know.
You got it. So like you were driving a car to and from work every day. You own a nice car. So like you get home safely to your family, right? But the crazy thing, the transcendent side of that, like the next level up of the paradigm shift is like, so if you in that moment knew that that person were rushing home or rushing to the hospital to see the birth of their firstborn or their mother's or like dying breaths or any situation of the like, or let's say like you found out, let's just say your wife passed away a month ago and you just, you know, we would probably have a lot more grace for this person, right? We'd be like, man, that makes a lot of sense. Like I'd probably be in the same frame of mind, you know, like that makes sense. Now a lot of times more likely it's somebody on their phone or whatever. But we don't know why they're on their phone. We don't know who's texting them and why and what's important and whatever. The point is we didn't hit them. We have a car. We're grateful for it. And you know what? Let's assume positive intent or whatever, right? So it's like appreciation and expectation, right? Like
now, in order to do that, you have to be very in the moment. You have to be in tune with your mind to be able to make that mindset shift. What do you do to keep yourself present and be able to make that mindset shift on a day-to-day basis?
I try to like focus on like what, you know, how do you live with less cortisol? How do you live with less stress? Like, you know, inevitably, like there's in a lot of these like interactions in a car, like it's like, oh, it's, you know, people are at each other and it's like, I'm not going to, like, if you don't give credence to it or whatever, like I'm not going to go live my life with more cortisol in my blood or more worry. Like you can be miserable, but I can't be, I won't be. Right. But I think it's a choice. Like you have a choice on whether to be happy or positive every day. And like, the thing is like positivity is a choice that you make every day. And you should never give anybody the power over your happiness that way. Cause it's the strongest power you'll ever give anyone over you. Like you control that. You control how upset you'll get. Not that you get upset or you get the knee jerk, but like I try to focus on like with my kids, like when they like, it's so short that they're tiny. Right. And it's like, you have to remind yourself like, dude, this is really kind of annoying or it's pissing me off, but it's cute at the end of the day. Like, why am I, like, I'm mad because I'm trying to read this article by Dan Go about health and my kid's in the background banging a pot or a pan. I'm like, I want the knowledge from this article. But then also it's like, dude, I can come back and read that anytime. Like, I should enjoy this moment right now. Like, how do you live in the moment? You got to constantly remind yourself. And like, it's easy for me right now because I'm like, I got to appreciate every moment. Like, what am I doing? I'm thinking about it all wrong.
Does working out or drinking water help you? Like, what daily habits help you do that?
Oh, mental clarity in general?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, man. Sleep. Working out definitely, because your sleep quality and your everything about your daily life improves when you get your heart rate up. Everything about your daily life improves when you like actually go hard for 30 minutes a day in like some sort of upped cardio. Because you drink more, you're hungrier for more like foods of like sustenance. Like you want real nutrition. Your body craves like whole grains and like meat and protein and like real like fruits, getting your vitamins from fruits. But like creatine, I'm a huge believer in that. My mental clarity and my ability to speak where I don't stutter or stumble on words, creatine is one thing for me.
So if there were like a week where you don't take creatine, you feel like
Oh,
you're
I'm
stumbling
different.
over?
Like
really?
I notice on days where I take at least 3 grams of creatine, whether I worked out or not, 3 grams of creatine, ample water intake, and I do love Alpha Brain. Like I think it's a real thing. Not to like pimp it on this show or anything like that, but like you're welcome for the free publicity. Yeah. I really
free shout out though.
They do all right, and I'm some jerk right now. So no, like I notice that I speak more clearly, I think more clearly. My thought lines are uninterrupted, or not as easily interrupted. I keep track of conversations better, and for me, as somebody who's been diagnosed as ADD and been on Ritalin and Adderall, like it's funny, like it makes me wonder, like, did we just have it all wrong when I was a kid? Like, should we just be providing like a better environment for a kid to sleep? Because I had like, my parents fought a lot and whatnot. And not to give you too much about that right now, but like, yeah, I came from like a weird home.
Me too.
And so like, it wasn't super,
stable.
Kitty cats but yeah, it wasn't stable, right? Like
Mine too.
So like, The point is like I had, I wet the bed till I was I'm not an age I'm not really wanting to admit. And, probably because of the stress of like parental fighting and whatnot. The point is like, maybe like ADD really isn't, I mean, I'm sure it is a thing, but like it's probably a far smaller percentage of the population
I
than we
feel
think. But
like it is definitely a thing. I don't want to mess up your pants.
it's okay.
I definitely think that ADD is some sort of chemical imbalance for sure. And maybe before technology and social media nowadays was maybe like 10%, 20%, whatever. But now with iPads and phones and everything that's so readily accessible with just the attention that they get, I feel like 70 to 90% of people have it just because of social media.
So you're saying it's a learned thing almost by your body. Your body learns ADD, like
Yes.
an ADD.
I
Deal.
think that some people would have it naturally, but I also think that people can develop it. And people can also
I said learned,
undevelop
but
it.
developed. Yeah, that you develop ADD
100%.
because of your surrounding childhood factors.
I believe so because I have a
I can see
niece-in-law, and she's 5. If she's bored for 10 seconds, she's vocalizing it. She's jumping around. She's naturally ADD, but now because there's technology, she's even ADD enhanced. She can't be off her iPad or getting some sort of attention. Like she's always like, everybody, look at me, look at me. She needs a constant form of attention, constantly. Now, I haven't been around a lot of kids, and you have 2, and you probably around more other adults that have kids, so you can probably speak better on that. But it's just so easy to be distracted by this that I feel like people don't care to be bored. Like people just aren't bored nowadays.
So I'm gonna like blow your mind here.
Please.
You don't want to address the wrong problems, and you don't want to misdiagnose things. But believe it or not, boredom is like where kids actually learn to like be creative.
100%.
So like iPads are the antithesis of that because you're just entertaining them with mindless, mostly mindless stuff.
Yeah.
But like that's the idea is like why people are more adjusted in the older generation, or seemingly, right? At least there's not as much of the diagnoses and stuff, is because they were allowed to be bored. You had like I remember being a kid in the 80s and like the early 90s, and like, dude, like we didn't have, we had a Nintendo, but like I was forced to be outside all the time by my parents, and I could play Nintendo, but I couldn't play more than so many hours and this and that. But like even still, it was like it wasn't as advanced as gaming is now. And I mean, like, we were forced to be bored sometimes. Mm-hmm. So you came up with creative stuff in the yard. I'm talking like, what things did you come up with just the sticks that were in your grandmother's backyard, right? Like, or like, what could you make out of like a piece of rope and like whatever else was in your grandfather's like shed that you were allowed to like play with or whatever?
What bullshit can get in on the railroad tracks down the road,
Yeah, man. Like I just like you just come up with so many things, and it's like because you were bored, like you were allowed to like become creative in that, or you I don't know. Humans need to be bored. Like go read some studies on that, man.
Yeah.
It's like it's a requirement for our brains almost.
How are your kids?
They are well adjusted. My wife is a child development expert.
Really?
So
holy shit.
She's literally an encyclopedia and trained at the highest level on child development. So yeah.
What does she say?
She's like, yeah, we don't like our kids don't do much iPad at all. Like Audrey she went 4 months with no iPad. Like, and for the first time that I saw this past week, she used it again for the first time in like 4 months.
And did she have interest in it, or did she like?
You know what's crazy? I think she rathers at this stage go do art at her table, or like write a book or create like a movie. Like she does this thing where she
create a movie.
She got it like when we were in Italy a couple weeks ago. I have some very creative and intelligent in-laws, and John, their uncle, had Audrey like making movies, like doing, Yeah.
How old is Aubrey?
So Audrey is
Audrey.
is 6. Yeah, man, and she is incredibly dynamic. She's as a kid. I'm not gonna sit here and like do the like. Of course, I'm proud of my kid, but like she is exceptional. All 3 of them are though. Like they're all 3. You know,
What is it again?
really.
2, 6, 9?
No. It's 6, 3, about to be 4, and 2.
Okay.
So they're all about 2 years apart, give or take.
Okay.
And so yeah, so how are they? They're unfairly well adjusted
Good.
because my wife is.
So your
an
wife
expert.
is one from her studies and I'm sure she has a like masters and all this experience. She thinks that social media or just some sort of iPad is not healthy for the kids.
Dude, there are studies that will tell you like do not let your kids play with devices.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like I can't tell you how many people that have the means, like these tens of millions of dollar families, hundreds of millions of dollars, and even billionaires, they don't let their kids use them.
Yeah.
Like until they're like a certain age, like
Yeah.
13. Like it's something stupid. Like a lot of them, because it's not stupid. It's like it's better.
It is. And that's their brains develop naturally instead of all this intake, you know?
That's right. Well, like yeah. No, so,
And even just letting them play outside on bikes and go bullshit in the backyard with sticks, you know?
Yeah.
Like that like you said, that lets them naturally get creative and just be more themselves instead of somebody
you
online
have to
that they want
solve
to portray.
problems.
Yeah.
Right? Like I read this thing the other day that was like humans in general, not just kids. When was the last time you literally sat in a room with no sound for 30 straight minutes undistracted by a phone? Your phone, you weren't able to touch your phone. It was on silent or whatever. It was not in the same room. Like when was the last time you sat with your own thoughts in silence for 30 minutes?
I'm a little not usual of a person. Now, I don't do that, but I go on the balcony at work with my phone inside and just like sit there and literally just with my thoughts.
For 30 minutes.
Sometimes, yes. I do it before work and I get there early. So there have been times where like I go out there and literally just sit.
But you still have a lot of sights and sounds on a balcony.
That, yes. I have some sort of
There's
inputs.
still stimulation and input.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, to answer your question,
Quiet room.
I've never done that.
So it's likened to like, I don't know if it counts as meditation, but it's likened to like, you ever turn your computer off and then turn it back on and it works better?
Yeah.
Or your cell phone?
Yeah.
Like, so you should turn your cell phone off semi-frequently, and then and it works better. But like, it's like giving your brain's computer a rest. But the crazy thing is, you have more solution type and like
You have
like
more clarity.
Yes,
100%.
Like so you will solve the things that ail you mentally in those moments. It takes at least 30 minutes though, of no sound, no distraction, no phones beeping, no messages, no banners, no music, just with you and your thoughts. Those are when you have your most lucid thoughts and when you will solve your current problems. That boredom is necessary. If you do that once a week,
Do you?
I don't. I just read this the other day, and I might try to practice some form of it. But like, you gotta make.
Have you?
30
do you
minutes or an
ever
hour.
drive without music or any input and just drive?
I do.
Okay. I get that same kind of feeling. I'm sure sitting in a room with no windows and like isolated with no phone gets you a different type of feeling. But I feel like sitting with my thoughts while I'm driving gets me that sort of clarity that I thrive or that I crave sometimes. There, like, for example, whenever I was first losing weight, I found that I started just sitting in silence in my car on my drives because I would just be more, I would just have more mental clarity throughout my day. Because there's a point where all I would do is like listen to music. When I get home, put a video on my phone, YouTube video. When I go to bed, have the TV on. Like I have all this input. I never had time just like for clarity. And I have found that the 15-minute drive to work, the hour to wherever, if I'm able to sit in silence and just like let my mind wander wherever it wanders or think the thoughts, it 100% helps.
Yeah. No, it's crazy how it adjusts like your mental frame on things.
Now, you've had some time to think. What would be the one person that you'd want to eat dinner with?
I think it's Alex Hormozy.
Yeah.
I would
Even over
love.
$1 million.
Well, I mean, this guy like has it down pat. Like he understands business and humans on a level that few people ever get to know either. Like, you know what I
And
mean?
he has both, yeah.
He's got both.
Have you read any of his books?
No,
Do you want to?
I've not at the moment. I like getting snippets of his brain. Like I like getting the one-liners he puts out there, and he does it less so now that he's written books, and now that he's got this huge business, and he's got this class that he teaches that you have to purchase.
How do you feel about that?
I would just want to make the network connection, and yes, I would like to read it because I think it would be silly, maybe.
Well, no,
or
how do you feel
ill-advised.
about him selling a course?
Good for him.
Yeah.
Like that guy has found he is the best at monetizing like things. I think like that's what his gift is, and you know what, time will tell, but I think he was great at balancing how much free to give to gain clout. Like he knows his mind works differently, but he put out enough free content over the years where it's like undeniable how great this guy is, and then he's like in practice actually put together a company's worth over $100 million, and his wife is also incredibly intelligent.
I've kind of studied his business plan when it comes to that. And he's really smart. So he has a company called acquisition.com
Yep.
that buys companies.
Right.
Now he puts out free content and has a book they can download for free to create businesses. So at the moment, his most successful business is buying businesses. And in order to buy businesses, business got to be created. And he puts out this free content so business could be created. Like that's crazy.
Well, here's the thing, right? So there's like, I think it's Naval Ravikant who puts out like the types of luck, maybe. It's somebody, I forget who. But there's like several types of luck. And one type is where like luck basically just finds you because you've been so successful for so long that other opportunities seek you out. And it's a different kind of luck. And so what he does is he tries to train people at different levels in their business adventures, right? And like there'll be people that like just want to scale their business or whatever. And he just gets all these investing opportunities that are like lay down investment opportunities for someone that knows what the hell they're doing, like him, right? And so there's people he's just like bridges gaps on information or whatever.
Connection.
And just gets, so think about it like this. It's like Shark Tank,
Yeah.
but like on a much larger scale. He's just like, wait, I can turn all, like, you're going to throw 50 businesses at me and 20 of them just need a little bit of love.
Isn't that crazy?
And he just knows what the missing links are. And he has the resources and the network and then, his own personal capital to be able to bridge those gaps and turn them into super profit machines. And then now he's like supercharging his worth, So it's funny. It's like acquisition.com. Here's how to build companies. Hey, everybody, come to me with all your businesses that are already functioning, that you've already done all the legwork, you've already established. They've already, got, a lot of them have some revenue stream or a great revenue stream, right? But different levels of whatever. And like he gets to pick and choose which ones he then personally invests in or personally fixes. And he helps the others just by putting out content or teaching others to teach people. You know what I'm saying? Well, like everybody wins, no matter how good you are, how big your business is, or how developed or undeveloped it is. Everybody wins because he helps them all. But then he also gets a couple of really exceptional offers that he then gets to become parts of those businesses and part owner too. So it's not so much about the classes that he's teaching; it's about what opportunities that seek him out, and he gets to then be extremely, picky about what he chooses to put more time into.
Do you strive to get to that point where you are a person that can connect bridges and input money to 10x a business? Like, do you want to get to that level of, like, do you want to be that type of person?
I would love to be able to be so good at a thing that I put stuff out there that helps millions of people. Yes.
What do you think that thing would be?
Oh, good Lord. I think I've found like a penchant for like just in general motivating and having the right quip or story or fable, or like business situation that I dealt with in my past to, this anecdote or whatever to help this person through their current thing. I don't know what, I don't know. I couldn't answer it better than that right now.
Okay. Now, what business would you want to create?
Well, dude, I feel like you're asking me all the questions. What about you, man? Like, I don't know what. Well, okay, so let's say I'll take this one. What business would I want to create? Man, I got a few, I think, but I actually have a few listed. I think I have ideas, these business ideas that I've written down. But they say if you want to do something like that, you can't tell everybody what you're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
You got to operate silently, and then
That's fair.
once it's already established. But here, I'll give you.
You don't have to say all of them, but say like your one that's your favorite it's like more of a passion thing.
Man, let's see. A passion thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I love all things Louisiana.
Okay.
And I would love to have something like this is odd. I would love to have an icon on the New Orleans skyline.
Okay. A building.
Well, like it could be part of a building, but like I always had this like vision for like an oversized king cake baby. Like I would, if you see, like if you are on like the Mississippi River Bridge and you looked back over downtown, right? Or you're coming in on the spillway to New Orleans and you're approaching the city and you see the skyline and then you saw this one building and it had like a giant king cake baby.
What's a king cake baby?
Oh, I guess I should explain that. So king cake is what happens. It's like a cake that bakeries sell during Mardi Gras, right? It's basically
the little
like
baby in the cake.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a baby in the cake, and the deal is like if you get the piece you put it on the underside of the cake, and you don't tell anybody and you cut the cake up, and whoever gets the baby buys the next cake for the next Mardi Gras celebration or the next week, right? Kids do it in class anyway. So king cake baby, right? It's like a thing. And it's a pretty like, identifiable shape and whatever.
So you want to put an oversized king cake baby?
At one point, I'll give you an example. At one point, before Gail Benson, I think she bought Dixie or was she's the owner of the Saints. And Dixie beer was like this, New Orleans tradition. It's now brewed in like Milwaukee somewhere, but it was brought back to Louisiana at one point, and still now it's sold again in Louisiana. It is, but they changed the name of it from Dixie because it had like obviously Confederate ties. And so anyway, I at one point when I was in bars, I was like, dude, Dixie beer needs to be brought back and it needs to come back in a big way. Lo and behold, 4 years later, Gail Benson does it. I'm like, she stole my idea. To me, it was original to me. But I was like, dude, what if we made the Dixie Brewery and then it had a giant king cake baby as the logo, and that was like on top of like there's like this Falstaff building in New Orleans. It's like a pretty identifiable tower, and I was like, what if the brewery had a giant king cake baby and it was visible from the skyline? I don't know. It's just imagining things. Anyway.
Okay, but when you say that, so I'm trying to envision it. When you look at this skyline from afar, you want to be able to see the little king cake baby from afar, right?
Yeah, but it's got to be giant for that, right?
Yeah. Now, would you want people to be able to live in the baby?
Oh,
like
that'd be cool.
Some sort of condominium
kind of like the
building?
Marshmallow Man on
Yeah.
on the Ghostbusters movie. Like have it be that big.
I haven't seen that one,
No.
but
live in it. I don't know. No, I didn't consider that. That would be cool. And people would probably pay
it's doable.
a high dollar to live in, like to go have like. What if it was like this badass like condo that was for rent by the night?
100%. Like you can make a condo building or some sort of business building, and then at the very top there's like
the penthouse is the king cake
the
baby.
baby, and then you can rent that out in Airbnb that experience.
Have the king cake baby like sitting off the edge almost, like where his legs are.
And
like,
it's
hanging
so
off
big
the edge
that
of
the
building.
arm's one room, the other arm's another room, the body's another room, the legs are a room, and then the head is the condo penthouse.
It'd be super badass.
Yeah, it's doable. You gotta make a lot of money to do that though.
Hey man, that's you know what? Now I do want to be a billionaire.
Okay.
Now I have aspirations to
You
be
don't
a
even need to be a billionaire for that one. You just gotta be.
But you know what? Now I have
millions.
aspirations to be extremely wealthy. Now I have my passion project that I will create.
I love that. And we'll end off the podcast with my business.
Tell me. I have a better
Mine is
one than
simple.
that,
Mine is super simple. I just want to create some sort of production company as a business that is profitable, with AdSense from YouTube that helps people lose weight. Simple. Like basically, I have a team that helps me make videos that help people lose weight. That it's free because we can just keep the business afloat via AdSense. Very simple. Because I really do believe that anybody that wants to lose weight, if they have enough access to it, that they can lose weight. And I just didn't have access. I always wanted to lose weight as a kid. I just didn't know how and didn't know where to start. And the only thing that helped me lose weight was posting online. If it wasn't for me posting my videos online and posting my progress and having some sort of accountability, like I was for the first 150 days, 'cause I posted every day for like 3 years, whatever. For the first 100 days, I would get like no views. But posting, because I made the first video saying I'm going to post for the next 30 days, and that turned into however many days, because I started with I'm going to post every day an update on my weight loss, it helped me keep myself accountable, you know? So, yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And I love that you want to help others achieve what you've achieved.
Yeah. And last thing I'll say is the reason for that is because I know how miserable it is to be so big. Because whenever you're so big, you're alive, but you're not living. You're not able to walk. You're not able to enjoy life. And when you're not able to enjoy life, it is miserable. And I promise you, if you are in one of those miseries, that it is possible. There is light at the end of the tunnel. The tunnel might be long as fuck, but you got to keep walking, and that's all it takes. Is if you just walk a day and eat less, you will lose weight, you fat fuck, all right? But that'll do it for the end of the video. If you guys did like this video, please subscribe, leave a like, put it down in the comments, let us know what you'd like for us to talk about. There'll just be a fun thing. I feel like this podcast is a lot more self-help. The last one was way more just bullshit. Maybe the next one we talk about fucking government. Who knows what we'll talk about. But Chris, any last words they want to leave everybody off?
No, man. Be righteous. Be good to one another.
Oh, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Fire. That was about an hour 20-ish. Woo. And let me just triple check that the mic is working. Hello. Yes, sir. We're golden.